and his team examined them carefully. They discovered that 9 of the 28 show signs of activation. At least some of the oxygen generators could not have been empty, as the shipping ticket said. When they questioned the Sabertech workers further, they admit they didn't fit any safety caps on the canisters. They just duct taped the cords around the metal canisters or cut them and stuck the ends down with tape. Then they signed off the work cards even though the correct procedure hadn't been followed. Finally, a stock clerk packed them loosely under a layer of bubble wrap.
I couldn't understand how the process could break down so substantially, and the carelessness that originated on the shop floor could escalate to getting these oxygen generators on the airplane.
But so far, it's only a theory. Greg and the team don't know for sure whether an activated generator could produce enough heat to start a fire.
At this point in time, nobody really had a good understanding of what happens when these oxygen generators start producing oxygen.
The NTSB conducts an experiment. They construct a replica hold at the Federal Aviation Authority's fire test facility near Atlantic City. Technicians place 28 generators in a box and cover them in bubble wrap. They pull a wire connected to the pin of one generator and retreat. They have high hopes, but the generator heat produces just a small fire and a little smoke. None of the other generators activates, and the box doesn't catch fire. Greg's theory doesn't seem to be standing up.
That first test was discouraging. You tend to start to question, are we really going down the right road?
With the public, the airline industry, and friends and families of 110 people pressing them for answers, the NTSB investigators are facing a crisis. Seconds from Disaster will continue. We now return to Seconds from Disaster. The mystery of what downed valujet 592 is proving to be a tough nut to crack. Early results from the fire test facility suggest that the chemical oxygen generators simply don't create enough heat to start a fire. Greg Feith and his team try again. They have no alternative. They repeat the test, but this time they copy the conditions in the hold more accurately. They use more generators, baggage, and an airplane tire. This time the fire takes hold in just a few minutes. After 10 minutes, the roof of the test hold is at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A minute later, it has climbed another 800 degrees Fahrenheit. 30 seconds more, and the temperature is too high to be measured accurately by the lab equipment. Then, after 16 minutes, comes a noise that provides the last clue. The tire in the recreation of the hold has burst. The oxygen generators did have the capacity to start and sustain a fire. Investigators now know the critical chain of events that led to the crash of Flight 592. They know why a fire started on board the plane, what fueled it, and why the pilots lost control of the aircraft, leaving everyone on board seconds from disaster. May 11th, 1996. 1 hour to disaster. A Sabertech driver pulls up at gate G2 at Miami International Airport with valujet cargo for Flight 592. Inside the boxes are 144 out-of-date oxygen generators loosely packed. A ramp agent places them around a large airplane tire. The pilots are unaware that they have a dangerous load on board. 30 minutes to go. As the plane taxis to the runway, the loose packing and unsecured cargo jolt one of the generators into action. It begins to heat up. 11 minutes to disaster. The plane taxis to its takeoff position. In the hold, the surface of the metal generator gets hotter and hotter. Soon the heat ignites the cardboard box and bubble wrap, and the blaze begins. 10 minutes to disaster. Flight 592 takes off from Miami International. Even though the hold is airtight, the fire is now blazing, sustained by the oxygen produced by the generators. 3.5 minutes to go.
What is that?
The sound heard by the crew is one of the tires in the hold bursting, just as it did in the lab test. Unknown to the pilots, the fire begins to eat away at the systems on board.
We got some kind of electrical problem.
The battery charge is kicking in.
We're losing everything.
The battery charger can't help the stricken jet as the fire is consuming everything in its path, including the control cables that run to the rear of the plane. Captain Kubek begins to lose control of the aircraft. Temperatures in the hold have now reached more than 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. In the cabin, passengers are becoming desperate as they choke on the toxic fumes. Flight attendant Jennifer Stearns rushes into the cockpit, but the pilots refuse to drop the masks, knowing that oxygen would only make the fire worse. 1 minute from disaster. The cabin floor burns and begins to cave in. 7 seconds to disaster. Now, no one is in control of the plane. The crew is probably unconscious, overcome by toxic fumes given off by the aircraft's interior fittings. Seconds later, Flight 592 nosedives into the Florida Everglades at 500 miles per hour. Nearly 3 months after the crash, relatives hold a mass funeral for 48 of the victims whose remains are interred together. Only 61 of the dead are ever identified.
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and 110 people paid with their lives for something that never should have happened.
I miss the love. I've got the love, but I don't have the physical capability of reaching out and hugging him and hearing his voice. And that's really hard for a mom.
ValuJet eventually takes over another company and becomes AirTran. Sabertech is fined $500,000 for its part in the tragedy, but goes out of business before the money is ever paid. Previously, the NTSB had recommended that airlines fit all Class D holds with fire alarms and extinguishers, but the idea was rejected because of the cost. Since 2001, fire detection and suppression systems have become mandatory.
In the United States, it takes a dramatic event to move the regulatory authorities to change. And in this case, it took the loss of 110 people.